guessing that you're listening to this program because you think it's possible to improve your eyesight. I know it's possible. When I first ran into the Bates method of eyesight improvement in the late 1970s, I was a young engineer with very strong Coke bottle lenses, and I've improved my eyesight tremendously. Also, I've been teaching a lot of classes and workshops and have seen countless people personally improve nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, and there's that presbyopia, which is the optometrist name for when your arms get too short in your 40s and 50s, and also other conditions can improve. One of the important things that you're going to come up with is your own personal sense of the strain that you hold in your eyes and how that affects your eyesight. And as you listen to these CDs, you're going to find yourself letting go of that strain. You're going to find yourself getting flashes of clearer vision, and you're going to develop faith in the cause and effect that strain causes blurred vision, and that relaxing and letting go and moving and being dynamic causes clearer vision. If you've worked with the Bates method before, I think these CDs may help you a lot. I looked for a long time, and of course the more established a condition is, as it was for me, the more kind of subtle help you may need to really find your way home with this stuff. I'm trying to present some pretty subtle principles here that I was finally able to learn, and that are missed or omitted a lot in a lot of books and also in a lot of so-called eye exercise programs, because it's kind of subtle to get them across. What this program is much more like yoga and meditation. And the so-called Bates model could rock your world a little bit if you've never come across it. It's one of those things it's always been close at hand because it's right there in our skull. But it's one of those things that it's subtle and it's wonderful, and it's a doorway back into more vital use of our mind and our eyes. It seems that our culture in the last 20 or 30 or 40 years has come to accept quite a bit that yoga and meditation and tai chi and exercise, having fun, that these affect our health deeply. And I want you to realize that eyes are not exempt. Eyesight can be improved. The main tool that you'll need in listening to these CDs is your mind. The main thing that I suggest and that I ask you for is your attention, your interest, your enthusiasm, and just sort of your sense of possibility. So since I started out as a skeptical engineer with this stuff, I can certainly understand if you're a bit skeptical. But there's an irony here with skepticism, and that is that on the one hand, skepticism protects you from falling into things and getting duped. But on the other hand, if you could just set aside your skepticism as much as possible, live on the edge, and pretend that this stuff just might be true, I predict that you'll get a lot quicker and deeper result from it. If you can do so safely right now, why don't you try taking off your glasses? Or if you have contacts, maybe pause the CD, take off your contacts, and then continue. And if you're listening to this program as a person who just is very slightly nearsighted or very slightly farsighted, then perhaps you already aren't wearing glasses, perhaps you rarely wear them, or perhaps you're just trying to avoid wearing them. Let me just mention too that if you mainly just have astigmatism, all the same principles apply for astigmatism. Okay, as you look out into the distance or up close, wherever for you is blurry, realize that what you're seeing out there is perfect biofeedback. If you're seeing clarity, that's a biofeedback signal that you're doing the right things with your vision according to the Bates model. And if you're seeing blurry, then that's biofeedback indicating that you have strain in your vision. So if things are more blurry, that means you have more strain. And if things become more clear, that means, at least for the moment, you've somehow learned to let go of the strain. We'll talk more about the Bates method as we proceed. But meantime, let's just intuit this sense of strain and this sense that if we were to let go of even a little bit of strain, that what we see out there would become somewhat more clear. Do you see how that's a biofeedback loop? Now, let's just preview some of the principles and techniques that we'll be going into later. First of all, as you look out there, just strain. Stare, strain, try to see everything at once equally well. And now, that thing way over on the left and that thing way over on the right, try to see them equally well at the same time. Okay, that might feel like a bit of a strain. Okay, now just gently nod your head back and forth as if you're nodding no. And now, just gently, ever so gently, let your eyes blink, and let them blink several times. And do you see how that's less straining? And now just sort of whoosh your attention back and forth, easily back and forth across whatever you're looking at. And keep moving your head somewhat back and forth, and keep blinking. And now add one more ingredient, breathing. Easy, relaxed breathing. Okay, now close your eyes and continue imagining that you're blinking lightly. Continue letting your head easily go back and forth. And continue breathing. And again, just sweeping and whooshing your attention back and forth across the object that you would be looking at with your eyes open. Okay, now open your eyes again. And let that be very refreshing and relaxing to sweep and whoosh back and forth across what's out there. Just investigate and explore how relaxing that very act could be of whooshing back and forth across the world out there, and blinking and breathing. Now, let's try another experiment. You'll notice several times in this program, I'm going to ask you, in order to discover the end of the curve that has relaxation in it, sometimes we're going to go back the other direction on the curve towards strain and tensing muscles and making everything real tight and contracted. This is one of those times. Let's squeeze our eyes real tightly shut. Tighter, tighter. Now involve the temples, the tightness in the forehead, and maybe almost all the way down to the mouth, and all tight, tight, tighter. Close the eyes so tight, tight. And in just a minute, we're just going to let it all go and relax. 1, 2, 3, relax. And open your eyes. Let your head again nod gently back and forth. Keep blinking. Keep breathing. And that may feel very relaxing. At the very least, it gives you a big contrast between super strain and at least your normal level of strain. Hopefully, by doing that real tight compression, then when you let go, hopefully it eased you a little further down the curve of relaxation. Now, let's try it one more time. But this time, before you do it, look at something that's a little fuzzy without your glasses and just kind of examine it a little bit, explore it a little bit without your glasses, and see how well you can see it. Okay, and now one more time, let's do that squeeze of the eyes. Squeeze the eyes really tight. Okay, more tight, and involve the temples and the forehead and the nose, maybe even down towards your mouth. Squeeze tighter, then 1, 2, 3, let go. Open your eyes, blink, and perhaps you got a flash even of clear vision, but at the very least, what we're starting to do is feel a contrast between more tense and less tense, more strain and less strain. And then we can start tying that to that whole biofeedback. Before too long, we'll start being able to find that our vision will get a little sharper, and we'll have that biofeedback that we've been looking for. I've been mentioning the Bates method and the Bates model and hinting that that has to do with visual strain causing visual problems, including blur. And I'd like to go now a little deeper into the Bates method and where that came from and what are some of the basic premises of the Bates method. Dr. William H. Bates was a maverick, brilliant medical doctor who specialized in ophthalmology, and he was teaching ophthalmology at a medical school in New York City, and he started noticing things. Of course, he was prescribing glasses in his regular practice, and he started noticing things that troubled him, or at least that made him deeply curious. For instance, he noticed that sometimes a person would lose their glasses and their eyesight would become improved while they were going without their glasses. And Dr. Bates wasn't content to just make this a minor anomaly. He saw a principle at work here, that for some reason, quite by accident, the eyesight had gotten better. And he wanted to put some more intention into this principle and find out how far he could drive it. He was able to work with several of the medical students and help them improve their eyesight, some of them to where they no longer needed glasses. Perhaps you can imagine how this went over at a school of ophthalmology, where in fact some of these glasses had been prescribed by other members of the faculty who believed that the only way to treat these eyesight problems was with glasses. And this turned out to be the beginning of the end of Bates' short career as faculty in an ophthalmology department. But this might have been good news for us, because Bates turned the next 40 years of his life into a passionate look for what were the causes of this strain, and also how could a person, once they learn to strain and once they learn to impair their eyesight, how could a person, now that this is a part of their personality and a part of their whole relationship with the world, how could this person now learn to let go of that strain and recover natural, vital use of their eyes and, in fact, of their mind and the way that it could see easily and clearly? Dr. Bates felt a particular concern for school children and the culture of strain and effort that they seem to be immersed in school. In Bates' writings, he often stated his belief that to truly learn, a person, especially a child, needed to feel relaxed and interested and absorbed vitally in what they were learning, and that through coercion and strain and effort, they might memorize a few things, but they could never really truly learn. And Dr. Bates felt that this culture of strain then, at least for some of the children, spilled over into their habits of how they use their vision, and that this led to poor eyesight. He was somehow able to charm his way into several schools, and he worked with classrooms of children, and what he did was he put an eye chart in the front of the room, and he got all the kids to look relaxedly and easily at letters on the eye chart and follow techniques that he suggested until they could see the letters clearly. And with just a few moments of this practice per day, they were able to reset their vision and not need glasses. So, what is the Bates method? Dr. Bates himself was a little shy about calling it the Bates method, and he said, really, my methods are just the methods of nature. And of course, anything that truly works, all we're doing is finding out how laws of nature work and employing them to the best of our ability. For this guided visualization, I'd recommend that you turn off all the background noise, at least whatever's under your control. And now sit comfortably, but in a natural, good posture. And now gently close your eyes. And we're going to do a bit of an anatomy lesson about the muscles on the eye. Each eye has 6 so-called extraocular muscles. And the reason we're going to look at these muscles is because these are the agents of the mental strain that we've been talking about in the Bates method. So, first, let's look at the 4 muscles that are called the Recti muscles. And each of these 4 muscles, they're kind of like a little bundle of rubber bands, and they come from 4 places on the eye. There's one on the top of the eye that goes back behind the eye, and there's one on the bottom of the eye that goes back and connects way back behind the eye. There's one on the right of the eye that goes back and connects, and there's one on the left side of the eye that goes back and connects. And these all go back a ways and connect around the optic nerve. And let's check and let's feel what these muscles do when they're working correctly. Okay, if those muscles are all in a state of relaxation, just feel how nice and at ease your eye is, and feel how it's nice and round and it's happy. Okay, now let's say that you want to look a little bit up, and notice how that works is that the recti muscle on the top of your eye is going to contract, it's going to shorten, and see if you can feel that, or even just pretend that in your eye. Okay, feel that top band of muscles contracting, shortening, and see how that makes your eye look upward. Okay, now likewise, let's try the bottom muscle and let it contract. See how your eye looks down? And now the one on the right, it contracts. Feel how your right is pulled over to the right. And likewise, the one on the left. If it contracts, your eye is pulled to the left. Now, what if these muscles were all to contract at the same time in an act of strain? See if you can even pretend what that might feel like. Okay, go ahead and put a little strain into all 4 of those recti muscles, top, bottom, right, and left. And now see if you can give them even a little more strain and a little more. Okay, now let go again. That probably feels good to let go. And now we said there were a total of 6 extraocular muscles. We've looked at 4 of them. The other 2 muscles are called oblique muscles, and these muscles more wrap around the eye, and the upper oblique muscle attaches towards the outside of the eye and then wraps across the top towards the nose, such that it can pull and actually rotate the eye around. Like say it's at 12 o'clock, it could rotate it back around to 11 and 10. Go ahead and feel what that might feel like. Okay, and then the lower oblique muscle attaches also near the outside and wraps around the bottom, and when it contracts, it can pull across in such a way that it can make the eyeball rotate. Say if you start again at 12 o'clock, just feel how that could rotate around the eyeball to like 1 or 2 o'clock. And at least one amazing thing that the oblique muscles do is if you tilt your head, at least for the first few degrees, when you tilt your head, these oblique muscles actually rotate the eyeballs so that they can stay on the level. And together, these two muscles make kind of like a belt, or even in its worst case, you might even say like a tourniquet or a straitjacket around, all the way around the eye. And so, once again, let's feel how, if the eye is totally relaxed, and if the muscles are totally relaxed, and if these oblique muscles are totally relaxed, let's pretend that we can feel that in our eyes, what that would feel like. With those muscles real relaxed, that's going to let the eyes feel nice and round and relaxed. And now, go ahead and, as you use those prior muscles, the recti muscles, what if you were to also put in a little bit of contraction of the oblique muscles? See how that can make little nuances of how your eyes look around. Or likewise with the lower oblique muscles, as you're in combination with your recti muscles, feel how they could make nuances of movement. And now, just like we did with the recti muscles, let's see what it would feel like. And again, we're just pretending in our eyes. Let's see what it would feel like if the upper oblique muscle contracted. Okay, go ahead. Now it's shortening, which is kind of like contracting all around the upper part of the eye. And now let's say the lower oblique muscle is also contracting. And now, so now those two muscles make a complete circle around the eye. And let's contract them a little more so they're getting even shorter. It's kind of like you have a belt and you keep drawing it in tighter. Okay? And now let's pretend that we could feel that feeling of the upper and lower oblique muscles contracting together in your left eye and your right eye. And okay, pull them tight, even more tight. And just pretend that you could feel that strain. Okay, now just for fun, add in some strain at the same time from those recti muscles. And let all 6 of them contract at once. Okay, now let them relax. Okay, and now just pick some muscles at random and contract them and contract them. Just explore around different parts of your eye. Okay, because Dr. Bates said there are a lot of different strain patterns that can result in different eye maladies. And now, let's do something. Just imagine, for whatever your current eyesight condition is, just kind of intuit and imagine and now pretend that you could manifest that amount of strain that would compromise your vision to whatever extent you're nearsighted or farsighted, or that you have astigmatism, or even if your eyes are a little bit crossed, that maybe one of those muscles is being favored and crossing your eye. Okay, whatever your condition is, now pretend that you can just dial in the right amount of strain to create that condition. Okay, and notice how that strain is not just on your eyes. Notice how your forehead is starting to participate in that strain. And now dial it up just a little bit more, just to drive the point home. And notice how your neck has become somewhat involved, and your shoulders. See, eye strain is not isolated. It's tied into your whole body, to your whole being. So now let's let those muscles relax again. That feels good. Okay, and now let's dial them in. Dial in that strain again. The amount of strain that we think, that we kind of intuit, that we can pretend might be the amount of strain that would cause our eyesight condition. Okay? And now say you're having an extra stressful day. Maybe your computer isn't working or just something's not going right. And now make that strain even worse. And maybe you've noticed how your eyesight might get a little worse on days where you've had a lot of strain. Okay. Well, what Dr. Bates says is that we somehow learn to dial in this strain and just leave it there. So let's imagine now. Go ahead and dial that strain back in, and you can feel it. You can feel those muscles contracting in your eyes, and you can feel the strain all around your eyes, and you can feel your forehead straining, and you can feel that strain in your temples and your neck. And now just hold that strain. Okay. And just hold it for 2 or 3 minutes. And now, just imagine that you're holding it for 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 days, weeks, months. Now, how about 2 or 3 years of this strain? How about 2 or 3 decades or more? Can you imagine how your eyes feel about that? Okay, well, this is a chance to do something very kind for our eyes. Rather than resent them for straining, let's presume for a minute that they were trying to be helpful, that they were trying to do the best job they could, and that they somehow felt that this strain would be helpful for our survival or our happiness. Okay, so go ahead and bring back that strain one more time and just feel it. And actually, go ahead and say thank you to your eyes for all that extra effort, and really appreciate your eyes and appreciate all that extra work they've been doing, probably for years, likely for decades, maybe even for many decades. And let your eyes feel that appreciation, and also reassure them that you're about to discover new ways to see that are more efficient and more relaxing. And there you go. And you can even feel your muscles sort of smiling and starting to let go already.